Welcome back to another episode of Explain It to Me. Molly, are you going to say anything about the music?
It's too chill.
I know it's too chill. I felt bad the second I turned it on. I was like, oh, we're going to be talking about Mortal Kombat because I don't know anything about Mortal Kombat. And I'll get into why we're doing this episode in a second, but I would like for everyone to just go around the room. I'm joined as always by Molly and Ashton. How are
Hello.
both of you?
Good.
So
I'm
on a
good.
scale of like 0 to 10, I know like a 1 about Mortal Kombat. I can name some of the characters, but I think I'm probably on the lowest end of the spectrum here. Molly, where do you lie on this fandom scale?
If you're a 1, then I'm like either a 1.5 or a 2.
That's still twice as good.
Just because I played the game on N64 and I've seen the old movie. I guess the first Mortal Kombat movie that they did back in the 90s, I think. But I was a big fan of the N64 game until I realized how garbage I was at it. And yeah, I circled around a lot of different fighting games growing up, but Mortal Kombat was definitely one of them that I enjoyed.
Ashton, how about you?
Yeah, probably only like a 3 or a 4, really. Again, like I played the old games. Remember, used to go to field trips to the like roller skate rink, and they had those, and so all our teachers were always trying to keep us away from all the gory Mortal Kombat arcade games.
That's right. You went to a Christian school too.
Yes.
They were like, no,
Away.
Well, this all came about because last Thursday, Ashton and I were getting ready for our D&D game, and our good friend WinterTwig is also part of that D&D game. And before we started, we were like, let's watch the Mortal Kombat trailer. And so we did. And Elliot, WinterTwig, kept on saying things like, oh, interesting. Sub-Zero takes Jax's arms off. That's different. And I was like, what are you talking about? And so Elliot started going into like all this lore behind Mortal Kombat, which I had no idea existed. But Elliot, where would you say on a scale of Sub-Zero to finish him? Where is your fandom?
So I haven't played all the games specifically because I'm very bad at fighting games. I have huge respect for people who can be good at fighting games. I'm not very good at them. I don't have the hand-eye coordination. I can never get like the quarter circle and half circle stuff correct. But I love the lore because a lot of fighting games like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, the lore is just insane. It's just, kind of schlocky B-movie, anime, pro wrestling nonsense, and it's tons of fun. So I've played a bunch of the games. Deception, Armageddon, Deadly Alliance were the main ones I played back in the day.
Are those not Transformer movies?
That's
Maybe. And there are a bunch of comics, and I've read I would say about a third of the comics. But beyond that, I've just kept up with the story, done a lot of research. For the newer games, because I haven't gotten the newer games, I've watched like all of the cinematic trailers and all the different alternate endings from everyone's different storylines and all that. So I guess I would honestly have to say I finish them, but I didn't realize it until the conversation at D&D is when I went, wow, I actually know a lot about this. Why do I know so much about this? But I guess I know a lot.
Is a finish him a 10 in your mind?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
You should
That's
start
like
a
the best.
show.
That's like the best part of it is when like someone's ripping someone's arms off or something, and they're like, yeah, because it's just
start a show
insane.
called
It's nonsense.
Lordal Kombat.
Ooh,
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
that's a
Lord-
solid title.
You like the lore so much.
Okay, and we have one more guest. A new Schmoedown rookie, Jesse Swift, is joining the show. Welcome, Jesse.
Ooh, got some Mortal Kombat
Oh, you
pops.
muted yourself, or
I was saying Smash Bros. All the way. Let's go.
Smash Bros. I know some Smash Bros. Lore, weirdly.
I was going to throw in there that finish him is usually followed up by flawless victory. So technically, I think flawless victory should be
That's
all the way
true.
up there.
Okay, so on
Yeah.
a scale of whoopsie to flawless victory, where's your fandom?
So if finish him is right under flawless victory, then I would say finish him.
Okay.
I
we
thought
got
that-
we got some experts here.
I
Yeah.
thought you were going to use that scale for me and Molly too. I was going to say Sonic Boom, but
that's a good one. I would have given myself a final smash, I think.
yeah.
Or yoga fire.
You just
I
do
don't
the
even know what
noise-
that is.
The noise that Game & Watch makes when he turns into a squid.
Yes. Okay, so the reason I wanted to do this episode was, partly because I didn't know that there was lore to Mortal Kombat at all, and I thought it would be fun. But I also, when I watched the trailer, I was like, yeah, okay, like it looks cool, but I didn't understand what I was watching really. And then Molly showed me Jesse's reaction to it because you reached out to Molly and was like, hey, I would love to talk about Mortal Kombat with you guys.
Nobody talks Mortal Kombat with me.
Well, we're going to do it. We won't be great at it, but you can just yell lore at us. But I liked watching people's reactions because Mortal Kombat fans were losing their minds over how great it was. And I want to know where all that enthusiasm comes from. Like, tell me why this trailer looks so good. And explain the universe to me, because I didn't know that there was more to it than just like man punch girl and girl punch four-armed man and so on.
We can talk about Bihan and Kuai Liang and all that good stuff and the Lin Kuei clan. I'm excited.
It's gonna be good.
So where do we start?
Sure.
Here.
So
Well, I want to hear everyone's reaction to the trailer first,
Oh my gosh.
and just thoughts on. Let's just start there and jump off into segues and stuff.
Jesse,
Oh, I'm starting. Okay. Sorry. Well, for me, I've actually been following. This movie has been like in and out of production for a while, and then it finally started filming in Australia, being produced by James Wan. James Wan loves doing his stuff down in Australia. What was great about that is, nothing gets leaked because it's way over there. But as much as I could, I've been following it, so I was very ready for the trailer to come out, and it blew me away. I was so excited visually by the fight choreography. This is a very martial arts heavy movie. It's like martial arts first, acting second, which if you're doing Mortal Kombat, that's how you do it. The 95 film just went neither route, even though I love it to death. And anybody that, whether you are or are not a Mortal Kombat fan, I highly suggest and recommend watching the 95 film. My girlfriend had no interest, or sorry, fiance now, had no interest in Mortal Kombat, and then watched the 95 film and thought it was a great time. Anyways, just getting back to the trailer. I was confused by some changes, some big changes in it, but everything that seemed very true to the game, true to the original lore, I absolutely loved. And you can tell that this movie is being made by not casual fans, but die-hard, live and breathe Mortal Kombat fans.
I want to come back to 2 points you just said, but Elliot, what was your reaction?
basically the same. The actors that they got are super physical, super legitimate martial artists who are awesome to see, and it looks like they're shot well from what from what clips we got. It looks like this is from not just a fan of the game but fan of martial arts, and it's going to be action and fun. And then also from what I could tell just from the clips that we saw, it looks like they're getting back to some, not necessarily deep cuts lore wise, but clearly they're going back to some like old roots. One of the clips looks it's the great Kung Lao. There's just a moment, and the imagery that they use is almost looks like it's taken right out of the original Mortal Kombat comic books from before Mortal Kombat 1 came out on arcade. There was like a published before they had the contract with DC, there was like a published comic book that you had to order in like on the mail, like in the mail, and be like, hey, I would like to learn about this arcade game that is just coming out. And they had the Great Kung Lao being cool in that comic.
Is that his name, the Great Kung Lao, or are you just
so
giving him that title?
Yes, because there's two, and we'll get to that in a bit. But
2 Sub-Zeros, 2 Kung Laos.
there's 2 Kung Laos. There's the Kung Lao you see in the movie, and then, which is kind of unfortunate for him, because then there's also the Great Kung Lao. And the Great Kung
He's
Lao.
the okay Kung Lao.
He's the okay Kung Lao. And they're taking like the spiked armbands and it looks straight out of the old school comics, which is like awesome to see. It's just really cool because it's like clearly these people are longtime fans. They know what they're doing. I'm just really excited about it. Really excited.
They did their homework.
They did their homework. They know what they're doing, and clearly they enjoy the Mortal Kombat has been going since before the arcade game actually came out in 1992. So it's a 30-year franchise that has been releasing comics by both DC and on their own, and releasing very deep, like story-dense games for 30 years. There's a lot there, and they clearly are fans of it, and that's awesome. Really cool.
Now, how about the top of this screen? What did everyone think when they watched it?
I thought that it looked really good. The like special effects and things looked a lot better than the original movie. Goro in particular looked much better.
Goro was phenomenal.
I was happy to see so many characters, because I mean, obviously there's such a large stable of characters in the video game that I know very little about, but I do know that they're there and that they exist. And so it's cool to see so many different characters from the stable getting screen time just in the trailer. That they didn't just choose to focus on like 4 characters and it just be the story about them. It seems like they really pulled in a lot of different things from the video game.
Molly, what did you think?
Well, I agree. I also turned to dust thinking about being over 30. So my reaction to the trailer, I thought it looked awesome. Normally, if I'm shown a trailer with just like nothing but fight scenes and like lots of action and stuff, I'm just like, meh. But because I am a child of the 90s and I played Mortal Kombat more than a few times growing up, I saw characters that I know, and I saw characters that I've played before, and that I have somehow, by pure button mashing, pulled off some cool moves. So it made me really excited to see this movie. I don't know, like, I saw the 90s movie and I was probably like blown away by it because I was a little kid and I was like, oh my God, it's a movie about Mortal Kombat. But yeah, the special effects, the choreography, it all looks pretty spot on. And without knowing much about the lore, I'm like, I don't care. I'm down.
Molly, but before we move on to some questions I have, you just made me think of a great question. Who here has performed a fatality without like cheats or anything, but like has done a complicated button mash like or combination?
That's a 2-part question.
I did it only because I literally had like a notepad where I had like I was like looking on like weird message boards and I wrote out like the exact moves, or maybe somebody at school was like, these are the exact moves to do this. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go home and I'm going to try it. And it took a while, but yeah.
After Mortal Kombat 9, pretty much every character always gets 2 fatalities. And so I like my top 4 or 5 characters. And I'd have to look up in the start menu, which they didn't have in the arcade games, obviously. But in the newer games, I went to the start menu, looked at the fatalities, and I would do them enough times to memorize them. So I had about 10 fatalities memorized in my brain that I could just unleash on people in the match.
And that was in one of the more recent games?
Recent, it was 2011. Was it 11? Okay, yeah.
MK9 was 2011, and that's when the big
because
the new storyline started, where it got even weirder.
I'm a fan of that storyline overall, though. But
I love how they did that.
Armageddon, the game before that, they tried to experiment. And they gave you like creative fatality where you just kind of mash buttons at the end and you'd like rip a limb off, beat them with it, and then like punch their head in, and it was like all just like kind of randomized and nobody had unique fatalities. It didn't work.
most of the time mine would be okay, we'd get to the finish him screen. This is like I said on the N64 version, which is like 3 or 4. it would get to the finish him screen, and the person would be like, and I would be over here just like,
Oh, that's all I would do. I'd run up and slap
back,
them.
forth, punch, up, down, kick, punch, and then I'd like scooch closer and closer, and trying to do my fatality, it would just be like a low kick, and that would do it.
Yeah.
And
Just
then I'd
like
be
run forward,
"Nope,
do an uppercut. You're like, haha, look at that.
I did it.
Ashton, Elliot, have you done fatalities? Am I the only one here that's never successfully done a fatality?
I've done it.
It took a long time. It was on. It was in Deadly. No, it was in Deception. Deception. I managed to pull off a couple, and I felt really cool about it. But yeah, 90% of the time, it was the person swaying and me desperately trying to do it, and I'd accidentally like barely touch their ankle, and they go, and then that'd be the end of it. And I was like, well, okay, but
yeah,
I got it to happen a couple of times, which felt nice. They're definitely not, especially back in the day, weren't super easy to pull off.
Can I recommend really quick that people, if they haven't yet or they haven't played these games, look up, I say the more recent games just because the graphics are better, look up fatalities from like 9, 10, and 11, like the 3 most recent games, and just look at like 10-minute collaborations with all of them. It's really entertaining.
Yeah. I really like the ones that they added to, it's not a Mortal Kombat game technically, but Injustice.
Oh, yeah.
The super moves.
Mhm.
But it is NetherRealm Studios, the same studios
Yeah.
that has, originally Midway, but you can get into that whole thing.
Mhm.
They were more like brutalities because they didn't actually want to kill off Superman, right? So you couldn't actually like blow his head up or anything. It was
Yeah,
all-
but when a shark comes flying through the side of the level and eats
That's true.
someone,
That's true.
What?
Here's a quick question I actually have for everyone here. What is your favorite fatality? Because I have one that I love so much. It's so stupid.
I got to think of a fatality.
What I'd give to be in the writer's room or like the storyboards for these.
So
The-
there's
I only have like a handful that I even know. So like the pulling out the skull and the spine.
okay.
That's one.
Classic
Or
Sub-Zero.
Sub-Zero freezing
Yeah.
someone and then just like shattering them. I remember that one.
Yeah.
Doesn't he
Yeah.
turn into a polar bear at some point?
Okay, that was a weird one. Yes.
Well, that's like
I'll go with
Animality.
that one. I
That was
remember
the,
that
that was
one
the
as a kid.
Animality. That was the Animality
Oh,
series.
okay.
What game was
they-
Animalities in?
3, I think.
Was that 3? Yeah.
Yeah.
the
And then-
heights of
that.
Animorph fame.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
Okay, I don't want to derail this, but like Bloody Roar was another fighting game that I
Oh, I
loved.
love
Oh, yeah.
Bloody Roar.
Primal Fury or something.
That was like
Yeah.
the in my childhood heart. That was the unofficial sequel to Altered Beast.
Yes, exactly.
I played a lot of
Anyway.
Soul Calibur.
I think
Soul
I'm
Calibur was my
thinking,
game too.
I'm trying to think. So Shiva, her fatality had to do with breaking their back, or am I thinking of another 4-armed person?
I
mean,
think
it's
both
like-
Shiva and Goro have had one where they hug the person basically in half
Yeah,
with all 4 of their arms.
That's kind of a nice way to go.
Yeah. Oh, I love you
It's
so
nice
much.
for a second. Oh, too tight.
Friendship.
I think
Yeah.
my favorite one was the one where Quan Chi pulls off the other person's leg and then just beats the absolute shit out of them with
That
it.
was mine. That was one I was the best part about that is normally it would like you'd rip off the head and then you'd stand there with the head and they'd be like, oh, and then it would like fade away. But specifically with that one, he would rip off someone's leg and start beating him to death, and then it would just zoom out slowly and fade
Yeah.
out as he
It was
just
so
kept
dramatic.
beating them. He
You
like didn't
just never
stop.
stop.
Just never
Well,
stopped. And
I was-
it's the one time they've done that. It's so ridiculous of him just like just freaking out.
I was gonna say, like,
Second.
for us that have played more or been around it more, if we could do like one best, one worst, because I was gonna actually say the worst for Quan Chi was I don't remember if it was Deception or Deadly Alliance, but he had this one where he hopped on the person's shoulder, grabbed him by the head, and pulled their head, but their neck just got long, like 3 feet long, and then he popped up, like jumped off, and they just like fell to the ground with a stretched out neck, and that was a fatality.
I don't even remember that one. The one that I always never like was always like I don't know, I just found it weirdly annoying was Cabal where was it must have been 3 or 4 where you take off his mask and then just do like a big spooky Scooby-Doo face at them and then they'd get scared and die.
Yeah.
It
Wait,
was a really dumb one.
I think that was Sindel, right? It was like the screaming, scary face.
No, yeah, but Cabal also had one where he'd take off his mask because he was all burned up
Oh,
and
yeah,
his
yeah,
face would get
yeah.
all big and his eyes would pop out and it was like a weird like Scooby-Doo monster and then the person would get so scared that their like soul would leave their body and then
I
they
actually
die.
think I remember that.
I just looked up
Yeah.
Quan Chi, and they look like the Grand Inquisitor.
Or
He's
Kratos.
he's the Grand Necromancer.
He's kind of like
of.
He's
He
kinda-
is the Necromancer of Netherrealm and is also a demon. There you go.
I was gonna say he's halfway between like a WWE Road Warrior and like Insane Clown Posse.
It was really confusing. In Mortal Kombat 9, Kratos was a guest star in that game on the PlayStation version. So you had Kratos and Quan Chi, and when you have them pitted against each other, it got real confusing. It's like both people picking Mario.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question to pull us back to the the trailer.
Yes.
So no, it's fine. Jesse, you said that you could just tell that it was made by diehard fans. What about the trailer says that?
Well, I think the second that you say it's going to be rated R, you know somebody's paying attention, because we know that that's a risk, because for a couple reasons. One, R-rated films, unless it's an outlier like Joker or Deadpool, don't typically make as much as a PG-13. But on top of being R, it's a video game movie, which is notorious for not making a lot of money in general, no matter what the rating is. So you knew that they basically said that we're going to do this proper or we're not doing it at all. They said we're going in here hard R, fatalities, blood and gore, and as demented as it sounds, that's what us Mortal Kombat fans want. I have related Mortal Kombat to Evil Dead in tone, and I think that's what they need to stay to. Something that is so gory and over the top that it's hysterical, if that makes sense. Okay. And they said that if we're going for tones, we're kind of going for Deadpool. And I was like, aesthetically, make it darker, please. But that is right. I should be laughing through this entire movie, and it should be gory, and there should be like amazing action. And from what I can tell, that is exactly what we got. And then having they said the opening like 10 minutes is going to be Hanzo Hasashi, who becomes Scorpion, and Bi-Han, who is the original Sub-Zero, fighting it out pre them being transformed into who they ultimately become. And that's a deep cut. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, it's Spear Guy and Ice Guy fighting, and they don't really pay attention to the lore. And it looks like they're really leaning into the lore for both us longtime fans and for people that didn't know that there was lore to begin with, like you guys. So it's a love letter. It's not just like, let's take our action figures and smash them together and see what happens.
Elliot, anything to add?
No, I mean, that basically is it. Yeah, the detail of, you know, really digging into Hanzo Hasashi and the origin of Scorpion and where that old rivalry comes from of these like rival ninja clans matters a lot to the lore, at least as far as, you know, the Earthrealm tournament and on. You know, their conflict is long-standing and vital to a lot of narratives that go forward. So paying attention to that and making that a focal point is really important. And then honestly, because it's just within like the first like 30 seconds, is that great Kung Lao like little. It's just only a frame, but like I was like, okay, that looks like a really solid Sub-Zero. The effects look good. That's how Jax lost his arm this time. That's fine. They've rewritten that like 30 times. Who cares? And then boom, I saw Kung Lao and I was like, I recognize that from a comic book I read 20 years ago. This is amazing. Okay, I think I know what I'm getting into. And then from the rest on, like there were just little bits here and there, just like little details, little things that you're like, yeah, okay, these people definitely definitely care about this and definitely are trying to, you know, be true to what Mortal Kombat is. Because like Jesse said, you know, if you were to dial back the gore or dial back the violence or dial back anything really, it would just be like gross instead of hilarious, because everything's just so over the top, so ridiculous that it like circles back around to, okay, this is just dumb. Okay. And like having fun with it again, instead of it being just like, that's just kind of gory and nasty, you know?
That's interesting. I've never heard someone compare Mortal Kombat to like Evil Dead, that's what it's going for, that just insane amount of, which it makes sense because clearly they are.
Well, like you watch Evil Dead and it's trying to be like horrific, but are you not also laughing through the entire film? And that's exactly what Mortal Kombat is to me, is when you do a fatality, you're like, oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And Elliot, I want to start with you on this one, but Jesse, you mentioned that there were things in the trailer that confused you. So, what in the trailer confused you?
Me?
And that's probably a good place to start jumping into some lore.
So, there honestly was the lack of a handful of characters that we saw, or that we didn't see in the trailer, compared to other ones that we did see, especially considering how interwoven their stories are. The biggest one I would say is that we didn't see Quan Chi the Necromancer, because he is probably the key, puzzle piece in the Hanzo Bihan, Sub-Zero Scorpion storyline. A lot of it pins on it being his fault. So that was just narratively, I'm very curious how they're going to handle the rivalry of those two clans and those two characters' story, and also the resurrection of Scorpion without Quan Chi, the necromancer who made him the revenant that he is. So I'm very curious
So many
about
words.
that.
I'm like, I know some of those words, but not most of
Can
them.
I have like a quick thought on the Quan Chi thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for it's easy for us to pick it out as fans.
Yes.
My thought would be, if you have Quan Chi in this movie, which I think they've said that there's a lot of characters in this movie that they haven't announced, and probably for good reason. There's not a lot of twists or surprises that you can do with Mortal Kombat per se, but I think Quan Chi is one of them, because for the people that don't know, having it revealed that, I guess maybe if you guys don't want to be spoiled, I won't, but I'll just say, like he said, it's Quan Chi is very interwoven in Scorpion's story and the loss of his family and stuff like that. So I agree that it's really important, and I think that he could be in there, but there might be a reason why we're not seeing him.
Okay, that's fair.
Interesting. I just want to know, everyone who wears masks, why do they have masks other than to be safe?
Actually,
out of the ninjas.
Great idea, Molly. I have a theory that I want to throw out to the experts about the masks, because originally it was like you got your Sub-Zero, your Scorpion, your Reptile, Smoke. I think like a bunch of ninjas. They were basically the same character but with different
Color
colors.
swaps. Yeah.
Was that just like a design?
But then you
video
have all
game
the
thing?
you have Sindel and all the women too, with like almost the same outfits, masks. I need to know why.
Is that something that was from the video game where it's like, well, we can only make so many models and we'll just change the colors, and then later on they're like, okay, now we write lore around this.
Well,
so oh, sorry, Jesse.
I was going to really quickly say, with like the color swaps and stuff like that, one of my favorite stories is the story of Ermac, who is the red ninja. Originally, it was like a error in the game, and the name where it was supposed to say the name of the fighter was like Error Macro, but Ermac for short. And so they just kept Ermac, and it became part of the lore. And they came up with this lore of he's like a combination of 1,000 souls put together in the soul chamber and stuff. And Mortal Kombat is a flexible, ever-growing evolution of content and lore, and a lot of times they kind of bring things from fans. It's a lot of fan communication, especially in the last decade.
I do like that. That's cool.
Yeah, Ermac is Error Macro. As for the ninjas, so going back to like the original comics, Sub-Zero and Scorpion had a lot of lore, but even in the comics and like in the original not guidebook, but like roster that they were showing off, they were just palette swaps in the comics. So I think they knew pretty early on, like, this is a old, arcade game. We don't have a whole lot of memory. We're going to palette swap these dudes, and it's going to be part of the lore, and it's fine because they're rival ninja clans. And so at first it was just Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and then from then it expanded onto a few other palette swap ninjas. And then over time, as they were able to, they started adding details and customizing them. And Reptile went from just a dude in green to a full-on crocodile lizard man, and they evolved over time. But yeah, early on, it was definitely just a limitation of the system. Jade and Melina and Katana were all just palette swap colors of the same ninja ladies.
And then later on, you got Scarlet, who's kind of very similar.
Yeah.
Design-wise.
I remember playing a lot as the three ladies, and I think Katana was probably my favorite, but I really liked Jade because she fought with a big old stick.
Yep.
Are you a big fan of Katana?
That's what the top row's dealing with. I like the one with the stick.
I like the one with the stick.
Yeah.
But
Or-
so, why do they have like the big scary mouths?
Ooh,
Why
I
do
would love
wait?
to talk about Melina.
Yeah, are we talking about Melina? Why she specifically has the big scary mouth? Because she's the
Is
only
it-
one that has this big scary mouth
Is
Out
it
of
just her?
girls. And
out
Baraka.
of those girls.
Oh,
Or Baraka.
I thought maybe Katana had it too.
No.
No.
Katana has a normal Adinian,
Yes.
beautiful face.
Okay.
So I'm gonna
So Melina's the
tell
one
you.
in the trailer, right?
Yes.
Because she
Yes.
has a scary.
Which
The big-
goes back to what Ellie was talking about there being some characters that it's surprising that they're missing. Because
Yes.
Katana and Melina, you can tell Katana's story possibly without Melina, but it doesn't feel like you can tell Melina's story without Katana. And so to have Melina in there casted with no word of Katana is interesting because, long story short, Melina is a clone with the similar DNA of Baraka, which is the guy with the big scary teeth. He's
Oh, yeah.
Tarkatan. And they took the DNA and put them together because Shao Kahn wanted a more obedient daughter. Long story short. And so that is what Melina is. And so everyone's wondering, where's Katana then, since we have the evil clone?
We
Huh.
do see her fan for like half of a frame in
Oh, wow.
in the trailer. So there's at least some reference to her. We don't, but like it's hard to say if she's actually in it or if that's like just like a hey, we do know she exists type like Easter egg. So
Interesting.
but yeah, Melina is directly tied to Katana.
You guys have talked about Scorpion and Sub-Zero and their history, so just run me through that because obviously that's going to be part of this story.
About Katana and Melina?
Oh, sorry, Scorpion and Sub-Zero.
Oh, Scorpion Sub-Zero. Okay. Well, so as Elliot said before, and I said Hanzo Hasashi is Scorpion, and he is, I believe, the leader of the Shiai Ryu clan. And Bihan, the first Sub-Zero, is the leader of the Lin Kuei clan. And lore has kind of gone back and forth on whether they had powers prior to having this engagement. It looks like in this movie, neither of them will. They're just two rival ninja clans. Then something will happen down the road. But as far as Hanzo knows, this Sub-Zero murders and kills not only his family, but his entire clan. So then he goes on a post-mortem revenge path that leads him directly into the Mortal Kombat tournament. And that's why you get Scorpion versus Sub-Zero. And there's a reason that there's a second Sub-Zero. This one might not overall fare too well. And so it's kind of this ongoing battle, and he holds what Bihan has done against like the whole Sub-Zero mantle. So then he's got a grudge against Kuai Liang, and their story, the Sub-Zero and Scorpion battle, continues on through their lives, through their journey. And it's just a really, I don't know, I guess invigorating rivalry. And watching it play out in the games through the cutscenes, I think, especially in X, when there's a little bit of hatchet burying, Mortal Kombat 10, I guess, it's just probably one of my favorite parts of the story.
So why does Scorpion dies?
Yes.
So yeah, so
Spoiler.
Let me go back even further. Hold on.
okay.
Oh, we're overwhelming Alex.
Why can Sub-Zero freeze things?
He's a cryomancer.
Just magic. Just he
Yeah.
can.
He
that's-
is a cryomancer. Yes.
There's some magic on Earth, and there's a lot of magic in Outworld. And Outworld and Earthrealm are like the two competing realms, because Outworld's trying to engulf and take everything, but they have to win via Mortal Kombat tournaments in order to invade and absorb other realms. Earthrealm's one of the last standing realms.
Now we're getting
Can I-
somewhere.
Can
As the more we talk, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, what's Mortal Kombat?
Okay. So can
I wasn't sure when we were
I
gonna
know
deep
even
dive.
less than I thought.
Yeah.
Like,
can I run through the what I'm going to call the lore bucket that all the storylines exist in?
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah, like
probably
what
a
is
good
this
Please do.
tournament?
foundation.
So Mortal Kombat exists because at the beginning of time, there it was the one god. That's just what he's called. He's called the one god.
is that
He-
Raiden?
No, he immediately made the Elder Gods, which is a panel of just powerful beings, right?
Okay.
The most useless.
Yes, we'll get into how useless they are later. So he made the Elder Gods,
The Elder Gods. Okay.
The Elder
I'm gonna
Gods.
try to act this out.
Yes, the Elder Gods were supposed to kind of create the universe and also serve as like a power source for the one god.
Okay.
They didn't like that at all. So what they did is they made a bunch of weapons, daggers, called the Kamidogu. I'm going to keep throwing stuff out here, and we'll get to it later.
Thank you. This
Okay,
is where
yeah, daggers, got it.
supersede me a little bit. Is some of the
Yeah.
early stuff.
Oh yeah. This is like beginning stuff. So the Kamidogu are a series of daggers. So the gods, the Elder Gods, took all their daggers and chopped up the one god into tiny bits and scattered them across the known universe. Right.
Okay.
That created the realms. Earth realm, where we are. Nether realm, which is hell. Outworld, Edenia, all of those, and there's countless of them. There's one that's a
I
dinosaur
was about to
planet.
ask.
There's one that's a vampire planet. There's one, and they're kind of like planets, except they're dimensions. They're actual physical dimensions, right?
Mhm.
Like alternate realities.
Okay.
Algo
Algo
and they-
Gaming's killing me right now.
And they are
Oh my god, it's stupid.
exactly,
This is my last resort.
exactly.
This
So,
gun is too big.
so here's the problem with what they did. And then they took the Kamidogo and they scattered them around to hide them.
The
because
daggers.
The daggers.
Okay.
So here's the problem with what the Elder Gods did. All of these realms then just formed people in them. They just, we humans started to become a thing. Life started happening. Planets started becoming habitable. Magic started being invested into these worlds. It just started happening on its own.
Okay.
The problem is that if it's all the one god, and the dimension is the one god, and everyone living in it is the one god, then people living in there started getting this obsession with unifying the realms and discovering the realms and fusing them back together. If they all fuse back together, the one god will start to be will be reborn, and they don't want that to happen. So to stop that from happening, their solution, and this is the first moment where you see that the Elder Gods are just trash, is that
I can already see where this is going, I think.
If the word God is involved in Mortal Kombat, probably useless.
they're probably useless.
Main characters are not.
Is this Raiden? Is he one
No.
of these guys?
No.
It's like, when is Raiden
get to that.
coming?
Where's the man with
Soon,
the hat and the
soon.
glowy eyes?
Glowy eye hat man is coming soon.
Where's Christopher Lambert? Damn it!
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Elder Gods decided, we know what we'll do. We'll make a rule, just a rule, where the only way one realm can absorb another one is by winning 10 tournaments to the death between the greatest warrior that dimension.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then they punch each other. You have to have a tournament to the death. It's called Mortal Kombat. You have to win 10 in a row. They can only ever happen once every generation. And if
they
you
spell
win
it
10
with
in
a
a row,
K for some reason.
they spell it with a K because they're illiterate and they're the worst. And if you win 10 in a row, then you get to the challenging dimension gets to absorb the other one. And essentially it's like when two dimensions get absorbed, like if I have a chair here and you had like a couch there, then the chair and the couch are now fused. Like one supersedes the other and takes priority, but they're both there. So it
So you
creates
got
like
the
this
couch-
chaotic.
like a couch chair, like
It's
a
like a
The
couch
chair
couch.
becomes an annex to the couch.
When
Yeah,
two
except it's
dimensions
like-
love each other very much.
When two dimensions love each other very much, it creates like this abomination of reality.
Cute.
So
Tale as old as time.
and to be
That's
able
right.
to organize this, because the Elder Gods are busy being Elder Gods doing essentially nothing.
They're elders.
They decided that the best thing to do would be to assign each realm a guardian, a god, just a lesser god, and that guardian's
now.
job. Oh, and that
Is that
guardian's
Raiden?
yes. So that guardian's job
We made
is
it.
to collect that realm's best warriors, keep them. He's the coach. He's the manager, and he's there.
The champion
anytime,
of cannon fodder.
Yeah, anytime a tournament starts, he goes, okay, my roster is these people. Let's get them in here, train them up, and then the tournament will happen.
What about Raiden's brother, the Wind guy?
Okay, so he's
Fujin.
also a god, but he's not the guardian.
Oh,
Because realms do have other gods, because magic exists, because we're all made of like a super god.
uh-huh.
So magic just exists in all the realms, and gods just exist because we're a god piece made manifest. But each realm only has one guardian, and it's a mantle that can be passed around, and it's a mantle that can be relinquished.
So what you're saying is that Earth could fire Raiden and give
Yes.
Fujin his job.
And the amount of
Yes.
times they should fire Raiden.
Yes.
Is
So
Raiden
they-
not good?
That's actually where one of the main villains of the series comes from. Is he was once the guardian of Outworld, and he said, "I don't want to be the guardian. I'm going to be the God Emperor," and then stripped himself of the mantle, but is still a god and is just super powerful and is evil and terrible.
Well,
So they
apparently
can
being a god doesn't
willingly-
really like
Sorry.
matter, because Raiden can just get kicked in the face by like some guy with metal arms, and then
There's
he can
usually reasons for that, though.
It
A
means
lot
you
of-
can't die because you'll
Uh,
just be reborn.
In
Okay.
several instances, Raiden has relinquished his godhood in order to get more involved, either in the tournament or in his Earthrealm defenders, and that makes him to where you can punch him in the face.
I
Yeah.
see.
Because the gods
That
can't
makes sense.
participate in the Mortal Kombat because they're not mortal.
Hmm.
So if he relinquishes his godhood, then he can participate
So,
in the Mortal
so
Kombat.
Raiden just does that all the time. Then
Yeah, he sucks.
he's all
Does he
about
have a
that.
death wish, or
Yeah, he sucks.
He's died 3 times?
Yeah.
so you
Um,
can die, but you can be brought back?
Yeah.
Well, think about it. You go 2-3 rounds with a fatality, and you can go right back to the main menu and get right back in there.
I mean, Alex, the dead speak.
Somehow Raiden has returned.
In a
That
world
took me
where
a second, but I hate it.
in a universe where Nether Realm is a literal like hell is a literal place that you can travel to and like visit for vacations,
Sure.
and
Mm.
there are like necromancers that just live there. If someone dies, they can just come back, and there's all kinds of weird magical MacGuffins besides the Kamidogu, which are also weird magical MacGuffins.
Convenience
this is-
with a K.
exactly how I feel.
There's much more, but I'm lost.
I think it's just like too much to try to explain in
It's
an
so much-
hour.
Yeah.
I
You're
think
getting,
I'm
you're getting
retaining
30
like, I got
years
the-
in an hour.
Oh, yeah,
man.
Yeah. But
I'm
that's
happy
the
with this.
bucket. That's the bucket that it all lives in. The bucket is there was one god. He made some minions. They killed him. That made the universe. And then those people were like, "Oh, we goofed up," and then made a rule where everyone has to fight to the death all the time.
Okay,
That's
so
Thank you
when-
for taking the lore bucket, because I feel like when we get into the minutia of like plot of like the
Exactly.
from like Deadly Alliance on, that's like my strength.
Yeah.
But, that was a great setup.
So,
Thank
so
you.
when these things happen, when Mortal Kombat happens, is that one realm versus another realm, or is
Yes.
it all realms coming together?
Well,
It's
there's not a
one
lot of
realm-
realms left.
It's it's one realm challenges another realm, saying, "I'm going to conquer your realm and absorb it. So I'm going to initiate Mortal Kombat, and if I can win in that challenge 10 times in a row, your realm is absorbed by mine."
Okay,
Should,
so
this is where the Great Kung Lao comes in.
And this
Exactly.
happens once a generation?
Per like realm on realm conflict. So like Earthrealm can only be challenged once every generation, but in the meantime, they could go out and challenge some other realms.
Well, then why have there been so many tournaments?
yeah,
because-
there's been
So many realms.
Because Shao Kahn's
Somebody's
a
cheating.
teabag.
So
okay.
A bunch of stuff happened. I'm skipping an enormous amount of lore. We're just going to ignore all that because we're going to
Fine.
get to
Yeah.
we're just going to get to
Mortal Kombat 1?
the Great Kung Lao
Well,
and Mortal
okay.
Kombat 1, which is Mortal Kombat 1 is the Earthrealm tournament is what it's referred to. It's called the first tournament. It isn't actually the first tournament. It's just the first one we, the audience, get to participate in, and that's the one with my brain.
Liu
Kung
Kang.
Lao,
Hold on,
Liu Kang.
I
Liu
need to
Kang.
pause real quick.
Yep.
Who's on Earth team? Who am I rooting for in this movie?
I'm
Kang?
going to assume Liu Kang, Sonya Blade,
Mhm.
Is Liu Kang in this movie?
Jax.
Yeah, he's the Fire Dragon Summoner.
Jax.
Oh, that's him. Wait,
Yeah.
Yeah.
who's the great?
Alex, Liu
Dude.
Kang is like the main character
the
in
Hat
the
Man.
90s movie.
Yeah, Kung
Kung
Lao is the
Lao
guy
is
with
the
the
hat
has the hat.
There's
Odd
two
dog
hat
hat.
guys.
But he's
Yeah,
not the
there's
Great
Odd-
Kung Lao. He's
Not
the
Raiden
lesser
hat.
Kung Lao.
Okay, he's okay, Kung Lao. Got it.
He's
Sorry.
okay. Kung Lao.
Kung Lao the Lesser.
Well, there's Liu Kang and Kung Lao, and they're basically the Shaolin monks. One shoots fire, and the other one throws a hat. There you go.
Did Liu Kang shoot fire and Kung Lao's like, well, I got something
Well,
too.
I got it.
Through his hat, like just to improvise that.
It is a
Exactly.
magical hat. It's basically like
Oh, he can't teleport.
Captain
to it.
America's shield.
Yeah, but Liu Kang
defies
can
physics.
shoot fireballs and
Yeah.
fly through the air and kick people like 15 times.
But he can teleport using his magical hat. Like
Okay,
a magician, like a stage magician with a bunny.
He
Except he's the
also,
bunny.
in one of the game or a couple of the games, he throws the hat on the ground and it spins like a buzzsaw and he just grabs people by the leg and drags them through the hat. So
It's a magical
that's
hat.
true.
Don't knock the magical hat.
don't knock
Okay,
the magical
yeah.
hat.
It seems dangerous. That's all I'm saying. He's
Okay,
wearing
Liu
a-
Kang, Kung Lao,
huge
their
dark
Team
hat.
Earth.
Yes.
Raiden is the Guardian,
Jax,
got that. Uh-huh.
Jax with the robot
favorite
arms.
character that is absent from the trailer that we started talking about who was absent from it, but Johnny Cage. If
Yes.
Right.
like you don't,
Oh yeah,
there's a whole lot we could say about Johnny Cage, and I don't know.
Mr. Cool sunglasses guy.
$500.
Totally not Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I came in here under the name Ninja Mime, which is a fictional movie in Mortal Kombat that Johnny Cage was the star of because he is a washed-up actor that happens to be able to kick a lot of ass.
Oh my god, he is Jean-Claude Van Damme.
He is Jean-Claude Van
One
Damme.
of my favorite things. Well, give me 1 second. I'll back up, and then I'm going to get to my favorite things. Two of my favorite things, actually.
It's hard. There's so much.
There's so much. So, Outworld conquers a bunch of realms. We're going to ignore the enormous amount of lore that happened all back then. They challenge Earth. They win 9 times in a row, and Shang Tsung, who we see in the trailer, we'll get to him in a minute, is the one who does that. He wins 9 tournaments in a row. He's a powerful sorcerer. He's terrifying.
I'm gonna try to pull up an image
I was
of
gonna
who I
say,
think
Alex,
this
do you
person
have
is. I do have images here, so
screenshots?
keep
Yeah.
talking. I think
Actor
So-
from the Dark Knight.
So then the Great Kung Lao shows up and whoops Shang Tsung and saves Earthrealm on the 10th tournament. If he had lost, Earthrealm is gone. The next tournament, Shang Tsung, I'm not saying Shang Tsung.
Did you say Shang Tsung too much, and now it sounds like
Oh no,
nonsense?
that's correct. Oh man,
Yeah,
my
you're
brain.
right.
There's so many names. Shang Tsung brings
If you say his name 10 times in a row, then he takes over
Earthrealm
your
gets
own brain.
conquered.
Uh-huh.
Alex, if you could just Google
Is this
Yes.
Shang Tsung?
Kombat,
That is Shang
exactly.
Tsung.
Yeah.
I
He
was
looks
gonna
kind of
say, if
like
you
Lu
just
Bu.
Google Mortal Kombat characters, a bunch of them will come up at the top, and you can just figure
I
out
like
which
to
one's
guess.
which.
Yes. So Shang Tsung
Guessing's funny.
on the next tournament number 11 in total, brings in Goro, the four-armed
Shokan.
Shokan, who is a half dragon. That's their race. They're half dragons.
Sure.
So he's got 4 arms. He shows up and he kills the Great Kung Lao super easy, and then proceeds to win 8 more tournaments
So it
super
starts
easy.
over. The cycle starts over. They got to
Right, it has
We
to
got
be
to
10 in a
9.
row.
It has to be
Yes,
10 in a row.
consecutive. They got to 9. They lost, and then the very next time. When you win immortality temporarily when you win a tournament.
Yeah.
So the reason Kung Lao was able to last from one tournament to another is because he was granted immortality age-wise until the next tournament. If that makes sense.
You're magically kept young and in peak physical condition until the next tournament, so that when you can participate in your prime again.
Doesn't help when you get ripped in half by Goro.
Goro absolutely ripped off all of his limbs and then beat him to death with his own limbs. So he really lost. So Goro then, without the Great Kung Lao, won even easier 8 more times in a row. So the first tournament, the Earthrealm tournament, the one that we are seeing now and the one we saw in 1992 and in the Christopher Lambert movie and the one they rebooted to in 2011, that is the first tournament, and that is tournament number 10. If we lose it, it's all over. Right?
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Because they
So
won
those
9
are
in a row.
okay, that's great. So
That's the
that's the
stakes.
stakes of this movie.
The stakes of this tournament, if they're sticking to the lore, the stakes of this tournament is if we lose, Earthrealm gets absorbed, and if we win, we buy ourselves 9 more generations at best, or at
Luckily,
worst.
in the 95 movie, Johnny Cage punched Goro in the balls and he fell off a cliff. So then we were safe.
Yes, we're safe forever.
Well, what are we
Until
going to
the-
do this time if Johnny
Until
Cage isn't in it?
I
Does
don't
he
know
have-
who's going to punch Goro in the balls.
Does he have 4 balls as
I was
well?
about to say that. Yeah, he's definitely Goro definitely has 4 balls.
Okay.
I don't
That makes
care
Johnny
how
Cage
many.
really powerful against him.
I don't care how many arms you have. If you've got balls, then you have a weak spot.
Especially if you're fighting Johnny Cage. Slash
Yeah.
Jean-Claude Van Damme from Bloodsport.
4 balls
So-
is very hormonal.
So now we're finally to my favorite thing, which is in the original tournament, 2 people showed up to the tournament. They purposely went to the tournament. There were people who accidentally went to the tournament. That's different. There are 2 people who purposely went to the tournament for the dumbest reasons. Like, Liu Kang went to save Earthrealm. Johnny Cage went because he's a washed-up actor, and he was like, I got to show this isn't special effects. I'm really kicking dudes. And so he went to a tournament to the death just to kind of show off that he's
People
like, he
with
knows how to
swords
kick
coming out of
dudes.
their arms, spitting fire,
Mm.
acid, teleporting.
Four-armed
skull
half
hands.
dragons. I got to
killed
show people
Goro.
that I can punch. So the other best part is Kano shows up to fight for Earthrealm because he found out that there was gold on the island.
Ooh.
Like, he's just like, I mean, there are sorcerers and necromancers, but there's gold. So I'm going to go fight some people with a knife and a laser. It'll be fine.
And
And, like-
speaking of people connected together, Kano's very closely tied to both Sonya and Jax. He's a member of the Black Dragon
Yes.
clan, which is a huge arms dealing
Crime
and-
syndicate.
crime syndicate. That's a much better word. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about Sonya because I know
Yes.
Jax has like metal arms, which gives him an advantage. Sonya just seems to be like a very badass lady.
She's a badass lady. That's absolutely correct. She's very badass. And also, she does have one thing that they've never once really 100% explained. She just has power gauntlets
Yeah.
that
So-
shoot beams of purple energy and rip things in half.
I swear I saw something in the trailer. I swear there was a freeze frame.
No,
Yep,
she
you know what I'm
does.
talking about. Yep.
Yes.
I saw that. I was like,
Yeah.
she just blew a hole through that person.
That's one of her classic fatalities is she puts her hands together and like charges up and shoots a big powerful energy blast and kills a person. And it looks
Well,
like
I
that's
wanna-
in the movie.
I
Run
mean,
back.
you can explain
Cool.
it with tech, I think, maybe.
So, Jesse, what were you saying about Kano, Jax, and Sonya? What organization are they part of? Who are
Well,
they?
Sonya and Jax are part of Special Forces, which is, I mean, you fill in the blanks. It's basically like Mortal Kombat's police force. And then Kano being part of the Black Dragon. and-
Wait. They're part of Mortal Kombat's police force, or like
Sorry. The Mortal
The
Kombat
U.S.
lore.
police.
Yes.
Okay, they're just like normal.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
The
Earth
special
police.
forces for the U.S. that Jackson and Sonya work for is almost essentially like their like supernatural division because they're aware of and fight like cults and stuff.
They're Mulder and Scully. Got it.
Kind of.
Hellboy was busy.
That's
Yeah.
right. The BPRD had other things going on.
Yeah.
And so they are kind of intertwined because I believe, is this just movie canon? Maybe you can help me out, Elliot. But Kano killed one of Sonya's partners. Is that in the games too? I'm trying to remember, or is that just the movie?
That's just the movie. In the games, originally she was just following him because he was an arms dealer and she needed to stop him. And she didn't realize she was going to a magical death tournament.
I hate when that happens.
How
Yeah.
did I get here?
The reason she fights in the tournament is because her whole squad gets captured, and then Shang Tsung, God, these names. Shang Tsung is like, "Hey, I've got all your friends. I'm gonna kill them all unless you fight in my magical death tournament." And she's like, "Okay, fine, I'll do that." And so she does that. She doesn't really know about like saving Earthrealm. She's just there to save like her homeboys, and that's about it. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, like they're just police officers. Originally, this is actually a fun fact. Originally, Jax didn't have his arms removed. He's had them removed by force in like 3 different ways.
Speaking of Ermac.
Yeah. So, but originally, when he first showed up, it was that he saw what happened to Sonya in the previous like tournaments and was like, "Whoa, magic, death tournaments. I should upgrade my arms." And then he went to some scientists and they gave him robot arms.
Instead of just
Ooh.
like, I'm not going there again.
One of the
I
most,
better get metal arms.
No, he was like, "I got to help Sonya, but first I need robot arms." And so he went and got robot arms.
So the
He's
people
General
in
Grievous.
in these tournaments aren't actually getting killed all the time, I guess, because like
Not all the
Sonya wasn't dead after the first one.
No, she was presumed dead after the first one, but she survived.
Was
and
it
she was
because she
captured.
got her arms ripped off and was thrown in a pit or something, or what happened to her?
No, she so
Plot convenience.
Kane, this is a fun original plotline stuff. Johnny Cage, Sonya, and Kano teamed up against Goro in the original series, and were trying to fight him off.
Is that
But
allowed?
Yeah, I was about to say that feels
Well,
like
they were
against
doing
the
it-
spirit of the
They were doing
Yeah.
it extracurricularly because Liu Kang was fighting. It was after the tournament was already over. Liu Kang had already beaten Goro, but didn't kill him because he's a Shaolin monk and he's a nice guy. And so then Shang Tsung challenged Liu Kang to like one last fight because he could do that. Even though he was certainly going to lose, Goro is much stronger than him. But when Shang Tsung dies or gets defeated, the island that they're on collapses into the ocean. And so Raiden saves Johnny Cage and lets Kano and Sonya and Goro fall presumably to their death.
Why
actually-
choose Johnny Cage?
Well, also, why couldn't he save all of them? It's like, oh no, I mean, don't
He's
expect
so
some
charismatic.
god of thunder who can teleport anywhere.
Again, the gods are worthless in this series. They are the worst ever. So he saves Johnny Cage, and then that's actually
Was
the
he a
plot.
fan of his movies or what? Like, why did he? Why did he?
You know,
choose
Johnny has
more
change
work
of
to do,
mind
Johnny
5
Cage.
times.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's actually why there's a tournament in Mortal Kombat 2 early, is because they have to go back and get Sonya and Kano, who are held captive in Outworld, because they fell into a portal as the island collapsed.
So that
into a
wasn't
portal.
like actually a tournament for the fate of Earth. It was just
It
them
was.
trying to rescue them.
The second one is a tournament for Earth, but under special Mortal Kombat rules.
I'm seeing a Cassie Cage, a
Yes.
child of
That's-
Sonya and Johnny Cage.
That's
That
about 9
is
games
new
later.
timeline.
Mm.
So the lore gets kind of weird in that you have Mortal Kombat in 1992 all the way up to 2011 is one long timeline that ends in Mortal Kombat Armageddon, in which everyone dies. There are no survivors except for
Johnny Cage?
nope.
Raiden?
Nope.
Well, at first.
Shao Kahn. Shao Kahn.
It ends up being Raiden and
That
Shao
guy from the
Kahn.
Jungle Book.
It ends up being Raiden and Shao Kahn. Shao Kahn has conquered everything. He's merged all the worlds. He's living god. He's unstoppable. The elder gods can't do anything to stop him. And so he, right before he kills Raiden whispers some magic words into his magic amulet because he's dumb, and sends a message back to the past, to his past self.
Well,
That is
I'm sure that he
super
said
cryptic.
something really specific and helpful.
Yes.
Right?
He said something very specific, which is he showed a like fever dream smash cut of everything that had happened in the storyline so far, and then the phrase "he must win."
So he sent a PowerPoint and a fortune cookie message.
A PowerPoint that's at like 200 times speed, and so past Raiden just got it like I don't know what that means. And he looked at his amulet, and his amulet started cracking. He's like, well, if I rectify these events, maybe I can restore the amulet and have everything go the way that it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And that goes wonderfully.
So it's actually, I'm actually going to say I really like how they handled rebooting the series
I love
in 2011, because it's not just a like, oh, we'll just do it over again and change the story and all the other stuff isn't canon anymore. The plot of the 2011 Mortal Kombat is specifically tied to the past lore in that was a bad end. Like if it was a story game, they played through, got the bad end, and so they're now going back to a save and are trying to pick different options to get a good end, hopefully. And like that's specifically in lore what the characters are trying to do. And then they're having to deal with the ramifications of altering the previous timeline. And so all the old lore is still 100% canon and does actually matter to the new lore, despite the fact that they had despite the fact that they had like an actual reboot, which
Even
is
the
really
most recent game has referenced the events like between Liu Kang and Raiden and stuff, and it does like flashes through like the entire timeline, both
Yeah.
pre-existing and current. In fact, Mortal Kombat 11 is all based off of time and alternate realities, and Chronica being the villain. That's getting ahead, but yeah.
So I really like how they handled 2011, but that does mean that when you're talking about this first Mortal Kombat tournament, there are two.
Yes.
The Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3 are now have direct copies overlapping each other of the original 1992, 93, and I think 94 movies, and the 2011 game was all three of those games in one. It followed the story of Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3 in that one game. So
Okay, I've got some questions. I know we have like half an hour left before Jesse needs to go, so I have some questions about the trailer. I'm gonna pull us back to.
yes.
Before we get to Cole, what is this birthmark thing? Is that true? Is that in the lore
That's
at all?
new.
That's
When I
new.
was- When I was talking about confusing, it was the inclusion of this new character of Cole Turner, previously known
figured.
as Cole Young. Yeah, because I miss my boy Johnny, and this looks like a replacement. Love Louis Tan, but we'll see what they do with the character.
Okay, so the birthmark is brand new.
Yep.
Yeah.
But in theory, should everyone have one of these that's part of the tournament?
Depending on how they're saying it, because they do say that someone else also had the mark. Sonya says that to Cole of talking
Sub-Zero.
about.
It was
Yeah,
in the
so
beginning of the
presumably, well, here's the thing: we don't actually know because the it's showing clips of Sub-Zero, but Sonya, unrelated in a different scene, is saying we went to bust something up in South America. I think there were people with supernatural abilities. The guy that we found had that mark. So presumably they're talking about Sub-Zero.
I mean, Jax had his arms ripped off. So
Yes,
Yeah.
but we don't actually know if those two things are in any way related, because in a following scene in the trailer, Jax is, I'm pretty sure, talking to Cole saying it's not a birthmark, and he still has his normal arms. So presumably they went to Cole and said, it's not a birthmark. We found some weird dudes. It's really strange. You have to help us in this tournament. And Cole's like, no, that's a fight to the death. I have a daughter. And they're like, okay, fine. And then he's forced into it from some other perspective after Jax gets his arms blown off, is what
Context
I'm
analysis
guessing is going
is
to
very
happen.
So I have a quick question. Speaking of the dragon mark thing, what is, because we briefly mentioned this, what are the dragons about in Mortal Kombat? Like, are they good guys? Are they just monsters? Like,
or is it just a cool symbol?
I was
Yeah.
going to bring this up too because I remembered playing as the Dragon King.
Onaga.
Onaga?
Yes.
yeah, and like Goro's a half dragon. Like, are there characters in the games that are actually just dragons?
Yeah.
I mean, right there,
That might-
Dragon Man.
we have
So-
ideas who that might be.
So I can tell you some fun lore about that, but I'll have to throw a lot of other words at you that'll make things way more confusing. But there are dragons, there are half dragons. There's Onaga, the Dragon King, who's crazy powerful and a big problem for everybody. Some of them are good. Some of them were in Adenia. Some of them are in other realms. Some used to live in Outworld, but were all killed off. Some of them are super evil. It just kind of depends. They're just another magical race that exists in this universe. And they are sentient. They can talk, they can give guidance, or they can try and plot.
I was going to reference in Mortal Kombat 9, the Elder Gods, even though we've seen them presented as people, were kind of shown as dragons in Mortal Kombat 9, if I'm remembering that right, when Raiden is fighting Shao Kahn. And it's like the spirit of like golden dragons that end up defeating Shao Kahn.
Yeah, Chinese dragons, serpents. They're it's like the manifestation of their power. Dragons just have like a symbolic importance in Mortal Kombat in general. Just kind of throughout. But there's no real reason given as far as I'm aware.
Okay, I was just curious because none of the characters seem to be like, that guy's helping Earth and he's a dragon. Like, you know.
Yeah.
We have
Dragon Man, that's
fire dragons, though, which I think one of my biggest pops watching the trailer was when Liu Kang hit the ground and summoned his big fire dragon, which he's used as a fatality in several games.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so you think that might be a fatality happening?
I want to see who.
I actually have
Is that
I actually
Cabal?
have a theory about that. That is Cabal.
Oh my god, that's my favorite character. Top
Cabal
three.
is in this.
Oh, it
so
doesn't
it's
look great
super-
for him.
It's
Yeah.
super weird, but here's the thing that I'm very curious about. Speaking of people who have very tied together stories, here we go.
Kano and
Cabal and Kano have directly tied together stories as members of the Black Dragon. Kano started the Black Dragon Syndicate. Kano became one of his, gun runner, crime lord people who worked with him.
So it's like a crime syndicate.
Yeah. The Black Dragon is a crime syndicate that is aware of magical stuff and is like peddles magical stuff like relics and stuff, but also missile launchers and regular guns. Just like a general crime syndicate. Just as a side note, the Black Dragon is an offshoot of the Red Dragon, a rival, not crime syndicate. They're a death cult. Don't worry about any of that right now. Cabal is a member of the Black Dragon, and he traditionally got all of the tubes and gas masks. He used to always use the swords, but he was just a normal dude with swords. He got all the gas masks and stuff because he was burned alive during by a Shao Kahn Death Squad in Mortal Kombat 3, I believe, and then turned to the good side because he was like, basically his life flashed before his eyes. He's like, I can't be evil. I'm going to put a bunch of tubes here, have swords, and be a good guy. That's Cabal. Now he's fighting for the bad guys, presumably. He's at least in the tournament. He might be on the good team, and they're like forced to fight. But if he's going to get burned by Liu Kang's
Kind of a dick move there, Liu Kang.
fire dragon, well, you have to fight. If he's going to
Cabal's
get
like,
burned
I have
alive,
swords. And,
Yeah, but
Liu Kang's
couldn't he
like-
just like shuffle up towards him and punch him in the face at the end instead of doing the old fire dragon?
well, I don't. What my guess is that they made him look like traditional Cabal because they didn't want him to just look like a normal dude, and then they just make him look like normal Cabal that we know and love. But he's a bad guy, and then he gets burned. But I have a prediction that he's gonna survive, and that's gonna turn him into a good guy like it did in the original series.
Maybe his mask gets like melted onto his face.
Maybe it gets
looks like
melted
a
onto his face or something. We can't take it
Liu
off.
Kang, Liu
And he'll
Kang
be like,
is
thank
literally
you, Liu
like,
Kang.
the therapy dragon. I'll burn the evil out of this guy.
Yeah, purge the evil with fire out of
Get
this
the
man.
hashtag therapy dragon going.
But yeah, so that's my guess because. But at the same time, we don't know if he's evil. He's just at the tournament.
Instead of a fatality, it's a breakthrough.
Yeah.
But yeah, so,
Tiffany.
but that's super
Evilectomy.
interesting that Kano is there. It says he's fighting for the good guys. Cabal is also there. So what's happening? And like Sonya isn't actively arresting Kano or Cabal. So
It's weird how she we hear her introduce Kano. It doesn't sound like it has as much malice in it as it should.
yeah, they've never in the movie they gave a reason why she hates him so much. Beyond that, they've never really given a reason why she hates him so much. But she just really hates Kano like a
Other than
lot.
He's like the scum of the scum. Kano
Yeah,
is disgusting.
Yeah, he's just a vile person to her. So, but she seems cool working with him. I mean, they it looks like they fight in the desert a little bit, but
What's a lot of
friends?
fun is the Australian accent came from the '95 movie. Like
Yes.
obviously prior to that, it was non-existing. But in every incarnation of where we get to hear Kano's voice, he's had an Australian accent after the movie, which is just a lot of fun.
the Alex has left us as well. The
I think he just had to take care of Hilo.
okay. What's also interesting, at least from the game's perspective, is that Raiden also had long white hair after the Christopher Lambert movie for a long time in the games until they finally were like, and at least I'm really happy that in this movie, they're like, he's not Christopher Lambert. He's like, he's a Japanese man. Like, just like leave him alone. Like, no. And so now he looks like he did in the original comics and the original story where he was in like the original.
Can I ask if you guys recognize the actor that plays Raiden?
No, I
It's-
don't.
He's actually from the MCU. He is
Is he?
Hogan, one of the Warriors 3 in Thor.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Spear-
fun!
Yeah.
Oh, fun. Okay, I did not recognize
Hela
him.
killed him so that he could
Yeah.
join the Mortal Kombat tournament.
He got real quick killed in Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He's used to working with gods, so I mean,
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
sorry for the derail.
No, you're fine.
It's fine.
In the
He already
same-
has experience having the really, really bad no good day in
Yeah.
Thor Ragnarok, so maybe they can do that in the movie as well with Raiden
another
constantly messing everything up.
always messing everything up. Another fun fact is in like the original booklet of like describing the characters from the original arcade game. Raiden, dark eyes, brown hair, from Japan. Like they give like description about him, and in that description they say he's 7 foot tall and 350 pounds. He is a beast of a human being. Raiden is huge canonically. He is 7 foot tall, 350 pound pure muscle, like, ugh! And then also lightning. He should never lose, and he loses all the time.
I think maybe he's just lying on his bio. It's like Tom Cruise when they like bill him for how tall he is and everything, and he always says he's taller than he actually is.
Oh my
Yeah, I
gosh.
guess so. Because like in the booklet, like everyone else seems normal, and you're just
Yeah.
flipping through it, and it gets to Raiden, and he's like, "What?" And then you see him in the comics, and he is like above everyone else with the glowing eyes. He looks intimidating.
Is it one of those things where like the book was written by Raiden? You know,
Maybe.
so it's like, yeah, I'm 7 feet tall and I shoot
Mhm.
lightning out of my hands, and nobody can beat me.
I'm super hot and everyone likes me.
Yeah, my hat's cooler than that other guy's hat.
So
Everyone's saying that Alex couldn't take the lore, needed to rest his brain.
I just had to take a walk, quick walk. I'm back. Okay, so we got to talk about this Cole guy
Mhm.
because he's not in the games, or
No.
is he? You mentioned a Cole Young.
Well,
So-
Cole Young is what he, when they were first talking about this movie and there's rumors going on, they said that they were going to have a new character named Cole Young. And then sometime later, they're like, it's Cole Turner. I don't know why they changed the last name, but they did.
Oh, so his name is not Young anymore.
I believe they say Cole Turner in the trailer. I believe.
Because on IMDb he is listed as Young, and his
I saw that because I saw
daughter and his
someone
wife are
still
listed
had
as Young as well.
on there. But
Yeah.
maybe we could rewatch that at some point. But I think they recently changed it to Turner, but I don't know why.
Okay, well then that kind of messes up one of the theories. So there's a couple of theories about who Cole actually is. So I guess there's three theories. A, he's just Cole. He's just Cole. He's a new guy. His name is Cole. That's it. Theory 2 is that he is a descendant of Hanzo Asashi. He is a lost member of the Shiraryu clan, Scorpion's ninja clan.
Which
And that's
there's
why
a hint in the trailer why that might be because we
I
see
mean, he
him
does have yellow gloves. too.
so there's a few different hints as to why that would be. A, Scorpion looks like he's saving him from Sub-Zero. B, he sees Scorpion in the mirror in like this weird hallucination
Oh, yeah.
flash. C, he has the same exact yellow like color on his punching wraps. And then also I don't know what to call them. Punch bits. I don't fight anybody. Look at me. And then
Fun
Got
fact,
yellow on
that
his punch
actor
bits.
that actor
Yeah.
was in Deadpool 2.
I'm gonna make one of my Johnny Cage loadouts just called punching reps.
yeah. And then there was one other bit that I cannot remember right now. But there's a few different things that like maybe that's who he is. Maybe he's that descendant. And then
Could the birthmark be related to that?
the birthmark potentially, because he doesn't necessarily know who he is, and then he has this weird birthmark that looks like a brand. I'm going to tell you right now, if I had a birthmark
Right.
that was
No
a
one
perfect
questioned
circle
that?
with a dragon in it, I would cut holes in all of my shirts all the time to show it off everywhere. I'd be like,
Yeah.
"Hi, my name is Elliot. Have you seen this? Have you seen this? This is natural. This just
I was
happened.
born for greatness.
I was
I woke-
born." Like
I woke
that's
up like this.
that's like the coolest thing ever. But it's a birthmark.
Really?
Or
I see it. Somebody said, according to the character posters, it says Cole Young. So I'm wondering if it was Turner and Winter Young. I just remember that those two last names were thrown around.
it might have switched over, because then the other theory, and this is kind of weaker in my mind, is that he could be Bihan, the Sub-Zero we're seeing in the movie, his lost younger brother, Kuai
Kuai-
Lang.
yeah.
So Kuai Lang, Cole Young, there's a little bit of parallel there. Also, it's become like newer canon that Bihan hates his younger brother when originally that wasn't the case. And so he seems to want to kill Cole, so maybe that's what's going on. So there's a possibility that that's what the parallel is, especially because the story seems to be very focused on Sub-Zero. It makes sense for Cole to be in some way tied into this very Sub-Zero focused story. So there's like some idea there, but I don't know. He might just be Cole. He might just be a dude named Cole.
I have maybe a weaker theory, like is just maybe because I want it so bad. There's some people out there, and I might be on this bandwagon, I'm not sure, that think he could be Johnny Cage, and Johnny Cage is a name that he develops, because Johnny Cage does not sound like a real name for all.
No, that's definitely probably like a stage name.
And
He's an MMA fighter, right?
He's an MMA fighter in a cage. Like, we see him cage fighting, and maybe that's really weak, but like it seems that he has some kind of descendancy or something there, like that gives him abilities that makes him a candidate for the Mortal Kombat tournament. Because if you're just a guy, typically you shouldn't qualify for the Mortal Kombat tournament. You need to be more.
So I saw that, and you know what? I actually just had a realization.
Yes.
There actually is some credence to that, for the fact that Johnny Cage was a fighter and then turned movie star and then turned fighter again, Defender of Earthrealm. But this guy's just a fighter, Defender of Earthrealm. But Johnny Cage comes from a long line of great Elder God imbued with power warriors.
Sure,
who are blessed with that green energy that shoots all over their body and defends them and makes them stronger and faster and more resilient to damage. And we see in the trailer he gets some kind of weird what I'm guessing is magic armor. It doesn't look tech. He gets like a suit that like covers his body that defends him. And he has it on in the Scorpion Sub-Zero fight, and he has it against Goro. That would make sense if he is Johnny Cage, and that's their representation of the ancient warrior bloodline, is that he manifests magical armor on him instead of it glowing green like a big weirdo.
Cole to me is kind of like the Mortal Kombat equivalent of Rey, and it's like if she turns out or he turns out to be nobody, I think it's going to be like just really confusing and upsetting.
He also has a daughter.
Yeah. Cassie.
Yeah, see that's Cole, and that he like has. It doesn't look technological. It looks magical, like some kind of weird, strange pseudo biological armor that's over him.
Also, now Cole can punch Goro in the balls, and then it'll be like we'll be all synced up.
Will he do something like a twist on the old classic? Be like whoopsie, like dark and gritty.
We'll know
toasty, isn't it? That's what they say.
We'll know if he's Johnny Cage if he does a split and then
I was just about
someone.
to say the splits. Yeah.
If he starts Jean-Claude Van Damming across the screen, then we know that's.
Or
Johnny
if he's wearing
Cage.
Sunglasses the first time we see him.
Well, Elliot, last Thursday when we were talking about the trailer, you said something that I thought was smart. Just that you said Johnny Cage was like the audience's eyes into the tournament.
Yeah.
As he was someone who didn't really know what he was doing. And so he got to ask all the dumb questions so the audience could get filled in. So in that sense, Cole probably is the Johnny Cage.
Yeah, he's definitely. So he's explicitly the Johnny Cage in that context, because the director has said this is the eyes for the audience for the uninitiated who don't know what's going on.
Well, there you go.
But is that because that's what Johnny Cage was, kind of, because not just in the 95 movie, but even in the 2011 reboot, like he shows up because he wants to show, because he thinks it's just a regular fighting tournament. He just wants to show up and show that he knows how to actually fight and get some publicity. And so he goes and he fights a dude, and then he like beats him and he's on the ground. And then Shang Tsung's like, okay, kill him. And Johnny Cage is like, what? No, that's a dude. I'm not going to kill a dude. And he has to like come to terms with, oh, this is a like to the death for the balance of the universe war that I'm now in. And like, that's kind of the player's introduction into what's going on.
I got to answer Caleb in the comments really quick and say it doesn't. He says, where does Mortal Kombat versus DC in the timeline? It's technically Mortal Kombat 8, but it's also nothing.
Yeah. It's
except for some cute little lines, like when you have Joker in Mortal Kombat 11, You get some crossover characters. They mention the game, but like canonically, it's squat diddly.
But it's like Link being in Soul
Calibur.
Calibur.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. There's always been cameos in fighting games that are just not canonical. Like,
Well,
you know,
what I wanted to bring up is everyone's like, well, this could be our Johnny Cage into the universe. It's like, well, then why not just have Johnny Cage? Like,
Exactly.
He's definitely a fan favorite. Like, I think anybody that's played the games, usually he's out of like the 20, 30, 40 characters that the games have, he's in the top 5 of most people.
I do like the idea of maybe that he picks up a pseudonym at some point. Going
that does
I'm
feel
Johnny
possible.
Cage,
but as diehard fans, would that annoy you? Would that feel like when the Imperial dude is like, Han Solo, why not? Or would you think that was cool that at the end he's be like, I'm Johnny Cage?
I don't know. I honestly really like Kuai Liang, Hanzo's distant relative, Johnny Cage. Really, any 3 of those, if done well, and I honestly do think that the people making this care enough about the lore and care enough about the universe that they are going to handle it well. Whatever it turns out to be, I think I'm going to be cool with it because they care about the story. They care about the story that is there and the lore that is there, and like representing it well. And so I honestly kind of trust them. I think I won't be too irked with whatever it happens to be. If it is just a dude named Cole, that will be a little weird. But I for how much they care about the lore in the past, I don't think that'll be the case personally.
Elliot, I don't know if you agree with me here, but I think like just looking at the trailer, and we're not supposed to do this with trailers, but I think that worst case scenario, this will be the best live action like incarnation we've had of Mortal Kombat.
Oh, definitely.
And that's so like when I can just kind of like rest my head at night realizing that, I was like, it'll be whatever it will be, and that's going to be just fine.
Yeah.
Because like Elliot said earlier on, it's just like B movie storylines and everything just like smashed together. And so like you can't set the bar too high. This is a low budget martial arts movie that is doing pretty good with effects. There is a lot of lore. They seem to care about the lore. They want to integrate it into the story. And it's not going to be Mortal Kombat Conquest, the TV show. If anyone knows about that, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That feels like a really good place to end, but I want to make sure, Molly, Ashton, do you have anything last that you want to have explained? I was looking through my trailer stills, and I think I asked all my questions.
If someone could just tell me real quickly and simply, Sindel. I just want to know. I want to know who Sindel's daughters are, or
Katana
daughter.
and Melina. Well, sort of.
And you know what?
Just Katana and Melina.
To piggyback off of that, just because I heard you mention Andenia,
Adenia.
I got close. Yeah, what's that? So, what?
Can I
Who are
take a little bit of the
her
lore,
daughters,
please?
and what's Andenia?
Sindel.
Yeah, you
Is that
take
the name
it away,
I said?
Jesse.
Okay, so Adenia is one of the realms that is now and currently has been absorbed by Outworld. But originally there was King Jared and Queen Sindel, and they had Katana as a daughter. Shao Kahn invaded Adenia, killed Jared, and Sindel, in all of her grief and to try to ensure that Katana would survive. I might be summarizing this a little bit, but she took her own life. And I believe she did some kind of spell or something with Katana to try to protect her. Very Harry Potter-esque.
To mess with, because she couldn't necessarily protect Katana, but she
Right.
could mess with Shao Kahn. She killed herself, but in such a way that it would magically protect Earth Realm. Is the story we get? Spoilers, that's not necessarily true, but we can go over that later. But that's what happened.
Oh yeah, Sindel has had a inconsistent at best storyline, whether she was originally good, was turned once she came back to life, or if she was always kind of awful.
Or if she committed suicide or was killed, or there's all kinds of things.
But her daughter is Katana. Katana is then raised under the assumption that Shao Kahn is her father. and Shao Kahn uses Kitana for her bidding until Raiden helps enlighten her to Shao Kahn's evil doings and the fact that her father was actually King Jared, and then she gets to find out all about Adinia and more about her mother. And then sometime around this point, Shao Kahn realizes that Kitana will no longer be an asset for him and has Shang Tsung basically take her DNA to the flesh pits. And that's where he takes Tarkatan DNA and Kitana's DNA, puts it together, and we get Melina. Scary, scary Melina in not enough linen cloth wrap.
And then Jade is just a not a princess or anything. She's just an Adinian who is friends with Kitana. She has her own like storyline and stuff and lore, but as far as her relationship as like the green lady ninja, she's just best friends with Kitana and goes with Kitana to help her when Kitana finds out that Melina exists, and then switches to the good team. Jade goes with her.
Gotcha. All right.
I
just wanted to know their relationships, because those were, I mean, as a girl, those were a lot of the times the characters that I would play, and I was like, they're all dressed very similarly, but I don't know how they make sense.
Why did some places, some realms get really cool names like the Outer World or the Nether region or whatever, and then some are just like Earth, Adinia?
Well, it's like Asgard sounds way cooler than Midgard. That's just always the case.
Or Midgard.
And also, I mean, like, if you have almost infinite realms, or I guess not infinite realms, you have thousands of realms.
You said countless earlier.
It's kind of unclear
why do they
how
all want to
many
gang up on
realms.
Earth then? God,
Well, because Earth
I said
at
I
this
wanted to
point,
wrap up, and
yeah, because Earth so far is a very good asset for labor with a high population. It has its technology, which would be a valuable asset. It's got threats because it's got strong warriors, so it's easy. It's important to take out sooner rather than later. And also, like, your options are running slim because you've conquered most of the other realms. But I mean, like, there's tons of realms, and then some of them have really dumb names. One of them is a dinosaur realm where reptiles people came from.
It's something with an S. I can't remember what it's called.
I can't remember.
Do the people in Outworld call it Inworld?
Nope, they call it Outworld.
That just seems confusing.
So
That's the confusing part. That's where we lost it.
you had me until now.
So I don't think they're going to go over it, but just one last quick thing. Reptile has a fascinating, very long story to him in which...
Is that him?
Yes, that is Reptile. So Reptile is a Saurian. They were a race of lizard dinosaur people on Earth originally. When a big war happened, I'm not going to get into there. It involves one of the elder gods and Raiden, and almost all life on the planet gets wiped out.
Raiden was trying to do
the mural. My art. Everyone else has art, and I needed to have art too. So I completely lost my train of thought. So almost all the Saurians and dinosaurs
Lizard
died,
people.
But the lizard people and the
they're just
dinosaurs
called
died.
Saurians.
And so then they went to another realm. They took over another realm, and it became the dinosaur realm where all the dinosaurs are, and they were happy and everything was fine there, and it's okay. And then humans came to evolved on Earth realm, and then there were humans here until finally one day Shao Kahn goes back to the dinosaur realm and is like, this is cool. I don't need any of this, but I am going to take over your world, and I'm going to kill everyone except one, and that's Reptile. He is the literal last dinosaur person and last dinosaur in existence.
So did they have so they had
and that's
10...
gonna happen to him?
And that's gonna happen to him.
Wait, so they had 10 generations of tournaments with a realm full of dinosaurs, and they
had
won?
a series of tournaments with a bunch of dinosaurs in which presumably a T-Rex was in the tournament at some point.
And Kung Lao was like, and I have a hat. And
they can regrow their tails. They might be able to regrow their hearts.
Oh,
maybe.
Yeah,
that's a really nice thought.
Hopefully we can all regrow our hearts.
What was that other fighting game from the 90s? Is that where that one comes from with the dinosaurs and stuff?
Which one?
Primal
so
Rage?
many fighting
Primal
games.
Rage.
Oh,
I was thinking of Killer Instinct.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that one too.
Look at one too.
Because he also has a lizard man. But yeah, so there's a whole long long storied history with Reptile, but that's like the long and short of it is that they used to be on Earth. They were the original race on Earth until Raiden nearly killed all life on Earth in a war with an elder god, and then they left.
So when's part 2 when we can actually start getting into the lore?
Yeah.
Well,
we
there's
might
a lot.
actually have to do
definitely-
a part 2, or
Well,
at least when the movie comes out, we'll have to do another episode.
I fully want to do one when the movie comes out, but that's in 2 months,
It's
and
not that far.
I
got
feel
we,
like
have to,
Falcon,
we may have to
Winter
set
Soldier.
aside like 2 hours.
I feel
for
like
that.
we need to do like a preview episode, so
Yeah.
like you guys can fill us in even more because this was super fun.
Yeah.
So maybe
'Cause we didn't get into Reiko is in this, which is weird. Just for Jesse, just for you and me, Reiko is in this.
Yeah,
I'm fairly
in-
certain that's Reiko.
I saw like behind the scenes, we like before we even saw the trailer, there was like concept art and stuff of him and like Cabal, and that was like my first. I forgot that I had seen the Cabal stuff prior to this. So
So
Also,
maybe
weirdly,
when we
on the
get close
IMDb,
to the movie, we'll do this again. Like you can prepare me for the movie. We'll watch the movie. We'll all discuss the movie.
Yes.
and then maybe go on just a lore dive at some point. Also, Jesse, just for you and me, and maybe Molly, you'll remember this. Natara is in this movie.
Yeah, vampire.
The vampire lady is just in this movie.
Bro, I
It's the
gotta be
weirdest. The pics that they got are they didn't get Johnny Cage or Quan Chi, but they got Natara and Reiko.
I'll tell you why
It's
they
so
did
strange.
real quick, because they
Oh,
said they
she
were
has
going to have
wings.
fatalities.
I think
They
I
said
remember.
that they were going to
That's
have
fair.
fatalities.
That's
and
fair.
they need cannon fodder in Mortal Kombat for us to be
That's
able to
fair.
see those fatalities. You can't just do
That's true.
that on Sonya. You got to have people that people know but don't care about.
That's
I have a
absolutely
question
fair, yes.
real quick. So Johnny Cage is basically Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yes.
With green glowy fists.
What character would be perfect casting for Steven Seagal?
What character as Steven
Yeah.
Seagal?
If
could he
Steven
play?
Seagal were in the movie,
Oh, Bo Right Cho.
Oh, I was going to say
Oh
Cobra.
yeah, okay. Yes.
The Ken knockoff from Armageddon
Perfect.
and stuff.
Bo Right Cho, the
Steven
fat,
Seagal for Bo
drunken,
Right Show.
drunken master who just trains.
Get
Liu
Jackie
Kang.
Chan and put him in a bodysuit for Bo
That's
Ride
true. That's true.
He
That's
was
true.
He
already
can
drunk
actually do
after.
things other than just sort of like waddle around.
That's true.
And little lore, Bo Raicho trained Liu Kang. And
Yeah.
Kung Lao. So cool stuff.
okay. Well, we got to wrap it up because I know Jesse has another show to get to, but we will do this again because
You guys
I
can
learned a
always hit me
little
up on
bit.
Twitter. I can throw so much stuff at you. I let Elliot just kind of take it.
I learned what Mortal Kombat is.
Yeah.
Mhm. Alex, we should watch the 90s movie.
Yeah,
If you watch the '95 movie,
First
please
one.
I have to be there.
Just the first one.
maybe we'll do that to prep for the next one. We could discuss the '95 movie, and that can be a good jumping off point.
Can I give you guys a couple content recommendations?
Sure.
Media recommendations for
I also
Mortal
think it would
Kombat?
be fun for us to play Mortal Kombat at some point
Yes.
Absolutely.
while we
Um,
discuss it.
If you guys have Xbox or something, I'd love to get on there for Mortal Kombat. But there's the Mortal Kombat 95 movie, and then I believe 97 is when Mortal Kombat Armageddon came out. Or not Armageddon, I'm sorry. Why can't I remember what it's called? Elliot?
97.
The
Was
second
that-
Mortal Kombat movie.
The second. Oh, Annihilation.
Annihilation, not Armageddon. Yes. And that's awful. Not fun awful, just awful.
Just off.
Yeah.
So you can definitely skip that one. There was like a Machinima web series that lasted 2 seasons, 10 episodes each, called Mortal Kombat Legacy. And it's kind of a spin on the lore. Like, it's not very canonical, but it's a lot of fun. And it's a cool way to look at Mortal Kombat. And then don't watch the animated cartoon or Mortal Kombat Conquest. So just the first movie and Legacy.
Okay,
And then-
I wrote that down.
What about the one about how Raiden gets his lightning powers? Highlander.
All right, we got to stop this before Ashton makes more jokes. Jesse, where can everyone find you online?
All right, guys. Well, if you want to learn more about Mortal Kombat or just currently WandaVision and stuff like that, you can look me up on Twitter at Jesse Swift, or look me up on YouTube, and that is at flick-the-letter-N-real. So it's the Flick in Real Fancast on YouTube.
And you're in the Schmoedown.
Yeah, I am in the Schmoedown. So actually, I have a match coming up March 3rd against Amaru Moses, one of the Fan League 4, one of the champions of the fan leagues, and someone to keep an eye out for. So it will be one heck of a match, I'm sure. Hopefully, you guys can make it.
Elliot, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitch Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays under WinterTwig, and I'm on Twitter, Winter_Twig, because someone already had without the underscore. And that's about it. I post on there. I'm planning on getting a YouTube up and running here in the next couple of months, so I'll start advertising that. But mainly right now it's Twitch.
And then we can make some Mortal Kombat videos.
I'd be down for that. That'd be a lot of fun.
Awesome.
That's a great idea. Ashton?
Oh, I'm Yeti Boatman on Twitch and Twitter. Although I haven't been doing anything on Twitter because it's Twitter. So mostly just Twitch.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Molly?
At Molly Damon on Twitter and Twitch. Yes, I will be making a big comeback on Twitch very soon. More details to come on that shortly. And by shortly, I mean within the next week or two.
Oh, okay.
Maybe or not.
It's news to me.
You'll see. You'll all see.
You'll see.
And I'm always on a certain point of view talking about Schmoedown. Me and Jill have our happy hour with Jill and Molly show once a month.
Those stickers are awesome.
Thank you. And our next happy hour episode is going to be super fun. It's with Adam Collins and Marisol McKee from, if you know the Schmoedown, you will know those names. So yeah, check those out if you want to see me and Jill get super drunk once a month and talk a bunch of nonsense.
And we're also on Star Wars Explained on YouTube. So that's it for today. We're going to be back. Me, Ashton, Molly, and Cubs fan Han. We're going to talk about WandaVision episode 8, right? Second to last episode this week.
Almost there, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
We're going to talk about episode 8 on Friday at 6 p.m. But thank you all so much for hanging out. And that's it from us. So have a great rest of your night.
Fatality.